Tuesday.
Are you gonna move?
You gonna make a mess?
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be upstairs, I'm just
Good.
gonna be out of it. It's gonna be upstairs.
So this one's fine.
Well,
Do it.
it's 6:03. I'd like to call to order the Town of Daniel Council meeting for Monday, May 6th. I'd like to excuse Stephanie Grady, who called in earlier and was not going to be able to make it this evening. And still, probably expect John Lauder to show up as well. Item number 1, which we usually have, is any public comment concerning any issue that's not on the agenda. Okay. Good. Name?
Mary Duggan. I have a couple of things, I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes. As you probably know, I'm serving on the Wasatch County Fire Advisory Board. And this year, the advisory board is putting forward an educational campaign. May 9th, that's Thursday evening, we're having our first big community presentation. I know it's already at the interlocal, but I'm hoping that somebody from town will go. It's Are You Prepared in the Event of a Wildfire? And this is in response to the Paradise Fire and all the other wildfires that were devastating in California and elsewhere last year. What we're focusing on are some areas that are definitely in danger, even a Paradise situation here in Wasatch County. I don't know if any of these are in Daniel. I don't know which ones they've chosen to highlight, but as you know, we do have some areas that are dangerous. And so, if you or anyone you know lives in any of those areas and would like some information, we're going to do a presentation with the local fire district. Also, there'll be some state and federal people there as well that will talk about different things you can do to mitigate danger during fire season.
That's Thursday?
That's Thursday night, starting at 6 at the senior center. And like I say, I'll be there. Hopefully, we'll have some other people from Daniel. But if you happen to know somebody that would be interested, please let them know about it. Also, the Wasatch Taxpayers Association, I'm also on that board, is doing a presentation next week to the school district concerning public participation. If you have any comments or input that you might want to let me know about, so we can include those comments, I'd appreciate it. I'm still in the phone book, and would appreciate hearing from you. Okay, now I'd like to put on my Taxpayer Association hat tonight, and one of the main reasons that I wanted to come tonight is it's the first meeting regularly scheduled in May. Normally you would have your tentative budget being presented this evening. By state code, that's required, and then it would be adopted, and the public hearing would be held in June. I don't see it on the agenda, and I'm wondering, are you going to plan a special meeting?
We were planning on certainly getting the tentative budget out by the next meeting, so we probably could be behind. We talked about the last month to get it going, and I knew the budget was coming up. But,
Well, I have the code with me if you'd like to. I'll leave it for you if you're
Okay.
interested. But anyway, you do need to adopt it before you
Oh, yeah.
actually then post it and let the public have it.
Yeah.
At least 10 days prior to adoption in June. So, anyway. Another thing that I'm noticing in the legals in the paper, that the other municipalities are posting the number of vacancies for the fall election. It's an odd-numbered year, and that is a municipal election year. So we should have 2 members of our council that will be up for re-election this year. So it's not required by code that you notice that you have 2 seats available, but it's kind of traditional to do that. In addition, I don't know if everyone is aware of this or not, but the code now states that if you're going to be a candidate for office, then you must put your candidacy notice in to the town clerk the week of June 1st through the 7th during office hours at the clerk's office. So anyway, if anybody's interested in becoming a candidate, that'd be a great thing to do. Okay, I think that's all I have for you tonight. Sorry to be the nag. But this is what I do.
Thank you.
Also, they have pushed the interlocal an hour later,
Oh,
so that,
so you could maybe come for at least a little bit?
Yes.
That'd be awesome. Like I say, it's scheduled from 6 to 8, but we're hoping we have a big crowd. It'd be great if you could come.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else from the public for public? Yes,
Just to
ma'am.
add to what she was talking about on the elections, I was the election official in 2015 when Mr. Blotter, Councilmember Blotter and Bunker were re-elected, if you will, although they were the only two running. So those are the two
Seats?
seats that will be available. And like she said June 1st through the 7th, the 1st is a Saturday, so they are actually saying the 3rd through the 7th, that week is when they have to do the official. I think it would be nice to have that posted on the website for sure.
I would think we could probably get on next week for the next few weeks until,
Yeah.
it's coming up pretty quick.
And we have put it in the paper.
I ran on the polls last time, I thought I'd lose.
Exactly, so, yeah, we'll get those out on those two and yep. So now we know who's up for election.
Myrna, this is where you want to go talk.
Oh, yeah.
Go up to the front.
It's all yours.
Well, I had a winter leak, and you don't get them fixed until it comes nice and warm. So I've got a big bill that I need to have taken care of. If you guys could help me in any way. I had Kelton got a big machine about, what's it been, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And dug all along my garage, thinking that maybe it was out there. I did have one of these nice tabs that's supposed to be winterized, and it was broke, and so we replaced that. And then he got the idea to come in and go behind the house where I do have a tap that runs, and it was way down under there. But he was fortunate enough to be able to get this machine and dig it, take care of it.
So right now, is it totally fixed? Good.
But I had to wait, I didn't dare dig during the winter at all. Just sat there and worry about it.
I'm sure that's all you could do for 5 months or something. Okay.
Right.
Any questions of the council? I'm not sure what that amount is. I know what she's asking for is some help from the town with regards to the water leak bill. And I guess, does anyone have any comments or questions about
How
that?
much was the bill?
900.
The current one is now 900. We dropped the last month's off as soon as she got it fixed, like we usually do. She had came down at the first of the winter when we realized there was a bill and made arrangements that she would make a payment of each month. And she has stuck, and she has been down there faithfully. She's made the payments. It's always been more, more than her water bill, so she's been trying to pay on it. The bill itself has been up to almost, $2,200. So we had dropped out, as soon as it got fixed, Gary told me to drop off the 1 month, and she's been doing what she said she would. It's just a lot, and I think it was kind of out of her control. So it's, yeah.
Do you have a suggestion?
I think that it would be great for the town to, drop some off. She's willing, I don't know what she's asking, but I do know that she was trying, and it's just her, and in the winter, there's nothing she could do. But as soon as they got warm enough, they got right on it. And, Eric went up and was looking and helping her, and Gary was there, and Kelton finally was able to get the equipment to get in. And so as soon as it was, she got it cleaned up. And so.
Well, in the past, we've asked for these to come forward to ask for some help or leniency toward bills that are maybe out of some of our residents' control. Do you have a comment?
No, sorry.
I thought it from my eye. And so, be all there is, I think that we've helped some people in the past.
No, what are you looking for, actually?
You've been paying, have you got something in your budget you've been paying every month that works for you, or?
I've been paying $100 every month, and that's squeezing me.
I suggest we just forgive the whole thing. She's got it fixed, she did her best, we've forgiven them in the past. Wasn't much she could do, just forgive it, go back to the regular rate.
And this month's paid, you say, Shelley?
It is, yep, she's paid, came and paid the $100 again a couple days ago. I took care of that, and so I think the bill's maybe, I think 800 now with after that payment. So,
I agree.
Shall I entertain a motion?
Motion to just get rid of the whole thing, I don't know how you want to word it.
Bring the bill current?
Bring the bill current.
You have a motion?
I'll second
You
it.
have a second? Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? You're taken care of.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Anything else before I move on? Any other comment or? We're gonna move on to business licenses, and we have some new ones, and we have some,
You got Mountain
Is that what you got there?
Jumped over number 2.
oh, I'm sorry, yes, I did have the arm, that's what you're looking at. Hold on. Number 2, Mountain Association of Government Tracks. The most important thing of the evening here tonight.
I'm used to being at the end.
No.
So I have a little map that we're gonna roll out. I don't know if it, I'm Bob Allen with Mountain Association of Governments, sorry. I wonder if it'd be appropriate, maybe we could drag this table up and I can roll it out and you can look from where you're sitting. I got it, you don't need to get up there. And I hate to kind of turn my back to the audience, but, so the purpose of tonight, everybody's aware that there's the long-range transportation plan for Wasatch County. The MAG has been contracted, I don't know what the right term is by UDOT to help put together a long-range transportation plan for Wasatch County. Essentially what that is a list of projects that we see transportation-wise out to 2040, and our new plan will be going out to 2050. So these are long-range projects that, 10, 20, 30 years out on the road. They're just kind of, as we look at population growth, employment growth, what are the bans on future roads, where do we need to put projects? What happens with this list of projects is it gets folded into the statewide transportation plan that UDOT does. And so essentially what we're here at MAG is we have a relationship with Wasatch County communities. They kind of said, hey, MAG's better. They have relationships, they know the people, they're better prepared to sit down, work out, put together this list. And so that's what we're here to do tonight, is what I'm going to show you first off is, let's see, I'm going to orient this the correct way. A modeling map, and then do you have those? This is the list of projects from the last plan. So is that oriented correctly for everybody's mind's eye?
Yeah, so this is coming up the canyon, Daniels Canyon.
Yeah, so this is Daniels Canyon, this is the city of Daniel. Do you want me to, I'll flip it around for you. North is that way, and north is this way on the map, but north is that way, right? So, what we're showing you here, I've got a couple more, yeah. Check it one more time. That's okay, I'm cool. So what we're here to do today is talk about these projects. So what happened on this map is, this is the current plan. You'll notice that there's a couple of projects missing. Eric?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I did notice as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we're going to talk about that in a second. What we did is we took, with the travel demand model, we took all these projects essentially, we built them in the model, and then we also added population out to 2050. So essentially this is 2040 projects plus 10 additional years of population growth and employment growth, and we ran the transportation model. You can see here all the roads that are in here with the volumes, that's a daily volume, and you can see all these colors. Yellow means starting to get a little backed up, a little bit of congested. Orange, it's getting a little worse, and then obviously red, we're talking pretty busy, okay? For, just to put things in perspective, 35,000 they're showing on Heber Main Street. Today, we're seeing a little over 30, so pretty close to the same as today. Obviously, like the bypass, or I'm sorry, the Parkway Road is put in there, so there are a lot of these projects are already built, but otherwise you'd see a lot more of that, okay? So our purpose tonight is essentially we want to look specifically at Daniel and look at the list of projects that are on this sheet and just say, okay, based off of the new modeling results, is there any changes that we want to make to the list of projects that are here in the Daniel area? So a couple projects let's take a look at. So first off, I would maybe point out project number 18. Project number 18 would say Daniel Road. What's listed there is a turn lane. Essentially what that would mean is we already have in the plan that we would need to build that a 3-lane road, meaning 1 lane on each direction and then the center turn lane. You're all familiar with that concept. It doesn't.
We're not finding 18 on
Yeah, we
here.
don't have 18 on our
Oh, did you
map.
cheat? Okay,
It
one
goes
was meant the
16,
old
19.
version. So, oh, you took out 18.
Is that the phase 1 project?
Yeah, it's a phase 1 project.
Yeah.
So, well, let's look at on this map. It's on the old one, but apparently it came off. So 14,000 trips coming up Daniels Road here.
16, 19.
That 14,000 trips is gonna be too much for just a regular 2-lane road.
And this is in 2040
This is 2050 volumes.
volume, 2050 volume.
And so we showed, in the old one, we showed in the first phase through this section, we probably would need to go to a 3-lane road, meaning a lane in each direction and then the center turn lane.
Okay.
14,000 would probably definitely warrant that, a demand for that.
So does that go all the way to 3,000? It doesn't, up to here, like it does, or does it?
No, so on my mind, it only went to this road right here, whatever this crossroad is.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Danco? Yeah, right.
It looks like, yeah.
Would be right there. So it would pretty much be this project right through there, converting it to 3 lanes. Center turn lane is essentially what it's doing. Any concerns about that? We okay with that?
I would assume we're, once again, thinking that in 2050 we're gonna need it, but until then, so it's a good guess.
Yeah, and that's really what this is. Remember, these projects, things that are on here are concepts. When you get closer to needing it, then there's a lot more study and information that goes on it. It's not like UDOT's gonna show up and start building this road without you knowing it long in advance.
But I still plan on putting a light there with that stuff that's going on right here.
So most of that stuff is part of the access agreement that was done about a year ago, and I believe we did have a light at both intersections there. That's something that's small enough it won't necessarily make this list. So we're okay with 18, or that project. Double check. So project number 11, if you see project number 11 right there by the hub, you can see the modeling that it shows probably again 10 and even up to 21 right here close by. I think what we would propose is just leave that project in as is, but the environmental for the Heber Parkway is really gonna dial that in where exactly it needs to be. And so
Is that study gonna overlap other municipalities or just state boundary wires?
Well, our UDOT representative can tell you a little bit more about that, but they're gonna look at all, they're gonna look at all possibilities, and you will definitely be part of that discussion and part of the whole process, from the beginning stages of figuring out what's the scope and of the project and the purpose and need, all the way through to the final decision. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we'll leave that one in there and then just let the environmental process do its due diligence. And again, that's on project number 11 on your sheet. The other major ones are really 70, there's 78, 72, and 102. So 78 is the hub intersection. Again, that's going to be completely looked at for the environmental, so I think we can leave that alone. 72 is a widening project along US 40 out to, I believe it's Mill Road. No, it's a little bit past Mill Road. Did we say that's
102, maybe?
102.
Did we say that's 3 or 5 lanes?
I think in this plan, there's I think
5 lanes?
3,
Well,
but
where Little Sweet
it,
comes
it could use probably 5 in that.
Yeah,
Is
so
that possibly Little Sweet?
to right here.
Oh,
And then there's another project number, or 102 is, 72 comes out to here, and then 102 comes further on out.
okay.
And basically that is gonna be, as 40 needs widening, widen them out as needed.
That would be good. See some turn lanes and speed up and slow down lanes.
And that widening, so you've got a sign there that you can change and all that. How does that work with the widening on, I mean, you just go out, how many feet are you gonna widen that road?
So,
From the intersection out?
so 5 lane cross section typically is about 100 feet.
You
90.
can maybe about 90 to,
Yeah. You can be in the 90 to 100 feet range, and when they come and do the engineering for it, you know, they can kind of do this to make it fit
Straight,
within. Yeah, we'll obviously make it straight, but if we can minimize impacts and takings, I'm sure they will when we get to that point.
Are they going to, I know they've been taking the speed limit sign at 50 and moving a little further out.
Mhm.
Are you gonna move that further out to slow that down just a little bit also?
I don't know, that's something that's kind of beyond the scope of this thing. That would be a good thing to maybe grab our man from UDOT here, Jeremy, and discuss those finer points, and he will definitely be better able to answer those kinds of questions. So we have those 2 widening projects. Again, I think we just leave them as is if there's no objections.
So does that, I'm just curious, does that fit within our, that we talked about?
Everything will fit in the access agreement.
Oh, yeah, so we've already got that blocked out, nothing above ground within that easement, and our 40 agreement that we signed?
Yeah, whatever the 40 agreement it says in it is still valid. Nothing in this changes that.
Right, but I'm saying if this plan needs to change that, do we need to look at that? As we develop these commercial properties, I'd
Sure.
like to have that set, so we're not,
Well, if it's in the 40 agreement, it says you have to be set back so much above ground that,
That trumps this, or not trumps
yes.
it, it's side by side? or
Yeah,
whatever
they,
you wanna call
together
it.
they work together, huh?
Okay.
This really, this plan is, again, you gotta remember, this is kind of crayon drawing concept, right? The access agreement, that's more, a little more concrete, gotta follow it, and then when it comes to the actual engineering, they'll take into account the access agreement and then start looking at the right of way and where we need it. You know, the extents of either of these projects, when it comes time to actually build them, they may say, well, we only got enough money to get to here, so maybe we'll do this instead of that. Or in fact, we hit the jackpot and we got all the money to do it all at once. But ultimately, they're not gonna do any of it until it's really warranted and needed. And that will be a process that will be well documented with you guys and be able to ferret all that out.
okay, I mean,
Great.
if we
No.
needed to do something with that.
No, I don't know, we don't,
But-
as far as this project is concerned, or this plan is concerned, it doesn't affect the access agreement at all.
Okay.
Okay, excellent question. So the next one I want to point out is this little A, and maybe you can fill us in. This is that 3000 South intersection that you guys have worked closely with. Could you maybe remind us, in here it's talking about XL and decel lanes for that intersection. Do you know if XL and decel lanes were put in as part of the new intersection? You know what I mean by XL, decel lanes?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I almost thought they were.
They were, and matter of fact, there was some funds already available for a decel lane that UDOT already had.
Okay.
Got some of those.
So we're gonna leave it in here and just make sure, and until something's like, yeah, we know absolutely it's already been taken care of, we're gonna leave it in there, even if.
Okay.
So we'll leave it in there just to make sure it's on people's radar screens and people are moving forward with it. Because that's, you know, important safety issue there.
Especially with them trucks coming out right now.
Yeah, just a few other things to be aware of, like project number 58. That's a project where they'll be completing 189 through the rock cut. That's a 2022 project.
2022 project.
It's a big, expensive, painful one, but it's the last piece that one will be going through. One last question. So I have a version of the old plan with these roads right here. 17 was kind of a project that connected down to US 40 in this area. My understanding is the town of Daniels is still okay with a connection coming down through here. It's just making sure we get it in the right location. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
Where was?
Is this what you say was 17?
Well, not necessarily this, but 17 is right here.
Okay.
And so is there if we made a connection from here to somewhere on 40 in this area, is there somewhere that you would prefer to connect that to?
Well, I think what Kendall was talking about is coming down Duke Lane here.
Yeah, exactly.
And coming in right at that intersection.
So that's Little Swede right here?
Yeah,
right?
Little Sweden and it crosses.
So it'd be going like this essentially?
Yes.
Is that something palatable?
Let me clarify, so that may be what was said, but these residents right here, so when the very last meeting we had, before we signed that agreement, remember, no, there was a person that didn't attend and this didn't.
Mhm.
So we had talked about that these people do not want parking back in front of all their houses. So this is independent there, then they can run a street outside of this street or something.
Okay, so if it came more like this?
Then that would leave these people alone, but that was a huge concern to 4 of those or 5, I'm not sure, but
Sure.
I talked to 3 of them, and not having the cars packed, right, waiting to.
No,
get
I
on.
totally get it.
Yeah.
So the other thing with the access.
Is that what you thought, or her? Or?
Well, when they came in like this, and I don't know if Independence is at the table at this point.
It's, you know, the same.
Same, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Meaning, yes, it's a little bit of an empty.
So their plan shows this road coming in down here.
So how do you feel about if we did this and then let Independence connect somewhere through here and then leave all this alone?
Well, the problem with that road altogether is that we've identified this as a signalized intersection.
But then we have another intersection like midway through here
We
somewhere.
did, yeah, where it fit within that plan.
Yeah.
We did put one, but their road doesn't come in at either one of those.
Okay.
And then we talked about, well, you know, they might have to go to this particular, because
Yeah.
they didn't
Well,
participate.
and that's why we're here. We're here to hear what you
Yeah.
guys want, and then we can work with Independence based off of that.
I think either one that you put in there ought to go to the signalized intersection.
So the problem with
Either
this
that
one is you're gonna mess up this because these two already line up, and if we don't use those lined up, it's gonna cause a problem like 3000 South, remember, where they were offset, and we couldn't signalize it unless they're lined up. So in some ways, it's either you gotta sneak through here and, you know, see what you can do there to line them up, which would be ultimately probably the best because there's connectivity through there. But I don't know how painful that is. Versus right here, somewhere in this neighborhood, where the connection is a little bit easy, it's a little bit easier to make maybe, and we do have a spot in the access agreement where it could go. It's just how do you guys want to show it?
Yeah, so I think when we was talking to Kendall, we was talking about coming down here and connecting in that last 300, 400 feet into Little Sweden, so it comes in at that signalized intersection.
Is that totally straight, or is it kind of cockeyed a tad?
It's cockeyed a little bit.
Yeah, and so whether it's pushed over,
Yeah, in our agreement, we show the
Yeah, we show
house
this
over
is,
here.
this is a signalized intersection, these two are signalized.
So we actually show us shifting that intersection.
So, yeah, there would be maybe a house that's affected or two there,
Yeah, the Coomers.
but if,
Okay, so instead of going all the way down, they're gonna come in and just tie the last.
Right, that's what we talked about, running.
and then you can say, hey, Independence, if you really think you're gonna get over the hill and connect over here, and then
Yeah, they're planning on right here drilling through this hill.
yeah, great.
So,
Good for them. So that would be, so this is the preferred alignment then, I guess, right? Something like this?
yeah,
That's what I'd say.
Okay, good, easy enough.
I think that's what has to happen because the skew angle here is too sharp. So yes, it lines up, but it doesn't line up for a signalized intersection, so you gotta go to this one anyway.
That
So
direction?
so you're gonna have to split it, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to bend it.
Yeah, it's painful just because of these houses and this corner. That corner's painful, but we, you know, we'll make it happen. So it's a safe intersection, it's just whether you want it there or there. Done, okay.
and then the port entry, of course, of the whole.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue.
Wow.
Yeah, this is not an easy thing, so it's not gonna happen overnight until we see real demand for it, obviously. So we'll put that project kind of back in, but in its new configuration. It will probably be put down, probably as a 3-lane facility, just because it's kind of a collector road so it just makes sense to make sure we have enough width to handle it. If it does get a little busier at some point, it makes sense to handle it. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot else in and around Daniels, unless there's any other questions that you may have that we can answer. I don't want to take up too much of your
Any
time.
question from anybody?
Y'all come see the map?
Yeah,
Questions?
so we're happy to, I can leave this here if you're interested in having it, because if that's the only change.
We'll keep it.
Okay.
The one on Daniel Road.
So right through here, so this is 14,000 trips a day, that's way too much, more you can handle on a 2-lane road.
So that's but no, Wheeler's good, that's where you do need to turn on. I was gonna just say, Towncouncil is just subdivision.
Yeah.
5 acres, so.
And they're not coming out on there to you.
That makes sense.
Yeah. This is just a crazy map that we came up with. It's not gonna make you happy, but it wasn't meant to make you happy, and it's kind of meaningless. So what we did, here, I'll flip it back. Well, you see some of the stuff that's in there, and you can see why. So let me tell you why we did this. So you guys have all been to Salt Lake County, and you know how the grid system is really good in Salt Lake County. The grid works there. That's because they were in one location and they built out from the grid. Utah County, we had a bunch of little towns that had their own grids, and they were connected by highways, but now that they're growing together, the connections, that connectivity, that grid doesn't exist. And so we said, okay, we looked at the internet, ITE, International Transportation Engineers grid spacing, where they said, okay, what's the ideal spacing for all these connections and grids? And we started looking at Utah County and said, okay, well, where can we make connections to not force everybody on a few main roads? So that's what we just did here, is we looked and we said, okay, where are in this area, you know, based off that spacing, places that could make good connections would make sense. This is purely just a food for thought. Is there something in here that maybe makes sense in your master plan? We're not proposing anything of this that could go into this plan other than what we've already discussed. But this is just a thought, something for you to say, okay, maybe we do need to make a connection here, or maybe we don't. Completely up to you. Does that make sense? We can leave this with you if you want. You can take it and let your kids draw on it. Don't say, Max says they're gonna build all these projects, because that's not the case at all.
Yeah,
It's
you wanna
just-
sign that one?
No. It's just totally food for thought. Hey, you know, boy, it would make a big difference if we could make this connection or that connection or something like that.
We know this thing's gonna be heavily traveled, this one here. I mean, that's all there's to it.
Yeah.
As time goes on. That's it.
Is there a legend on that? What's the blue? Oh,
Blue is just
there's
reflected. I would say I would take this and downgrade it a level, right? Because expressway, freeway, yeah, this will kind of be that principal. Anything that's like orange, I would say that's a
Well, that's what
minor
they're
collector.
proposing.
I was just gonna ask Mr. I forgot your first name.
Jeremy.
I was gonna say, we're speaking of UDOT, not Mr. UDOT.
That's okay.
So all of us are probably aware that there's discussion on moving 189 and things, and that it was a plan, it isn't a plan, no one talked about it, everyone talked about it. So could you shed any light on this particular road that's here?
Yeah,
Was this map done before that discussion? Is this done after the
so
discussion?
this map is,
Or any particular map? As far as
So, yeah,
189 goes?
This is probably the better, that's probably the better map.
right, so far, outside of what has been proposed in the study that UDOT was a part of, that is the only map that is showing anything about rerouting 189. MAGS, as you can see here, MAGS,
We still have
modeling
it in there in the model.
doesn't show rerouting 189. That concept came based on public comment. We tried it and it worked better, and how it worked better was over here at it made the hub intersection perform better because there was one less road coming into that highly congested area. That's how it got moved forward, because traffic modeling wise, traffic performance, it worked better, and it got put in there based on a public comment. We, at the, what was it, 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, we had a public meeting over at the city to talk about, over at Heber City, excuse me, to talk about that very thing. And in that meeting, I mentioned to everyone there that I was gonna go back to the project team, and we were gonna consider changing the wording of the report that we're gonna put out from recommended route to suggested alternatives, and we'll probably show a couple different alternatives. So it still will show up, just because what we looked at, which was not everything in this study, it's what performed best based on the traffic analysis that we did. So, but we do need to go, oh, go
That's
ahead.
okay. In any of those scenarios, is UDOT looking at any kind of an eminent domain from a UDOT standpoint with any kind of?
Right now, no, we are still at planning level, so there's no threat of condemnation, there's no eminent domain stuff going on. It's just very high level, putting some lines on a map and saying, okay, modelers, how does this make traffic flow? That's the level we were at this point.
An important note, though, is you may be aware that UDOT was given $4 million to start the environmental study for that whole bypass road. And that process, where UDOT will, with their consultants, dive into the fine-grained details of this entire project. It will be a very robust public process, working with you, all the cities, stakeholders, residents. $4 million, we're talking a serious thing, so that's where that stage is. I think at this point, you look at the study recommendations, say, okay, great, that's good. Now let's really dive into the details, and things could change drastically from there.
Yeah, that's, I wanted to bring that up, thank you very much.
Sorry.
And with that, I want to mention that if any of you guys came to the public meetings or are on the stakeholder list, you might be aware that there have been some comments that said, why doesn't UDOT consider breaking off clear down here and bringing the bypass through Daniel and around the airport and up? So those comments have been recorded, depending on how the beginning phase of the environmental study goes and what, because the very first phase of that is developing our purpose and need, which will kind of direct the rest of the study. Those comments were captured in this study and will be passed on to that study. And so I don't know yet, but there's a possibility as we first start that scoping that we kind of come way back out and say, is this the only thing to look at, or do we need to look at something over here, or do we need to look at this? And so I want you guys to be aware that that is a possibility if they come back out at the beginning of that study. And so it'd be a good idea to make sure you guys are involved and aware of what's going on there.
So
If people are talking putting lines on maps over here through your town, you want to be involved through those conversations.
I would certainly agree with that, and so anyone that would put a map, a line through our map, I would like to know who that is, because I would think that we would be the one putting the lines through our town. Wouldn't that be
Right.
the
Well,
case?
so what, in these public comment meetings, we have maps out like this and we're showing stuff and people just come and say, well, I like this idea, will you consider this? And we go,
Understand.
yes, we'll show you
It's all
why
about
we just think
discussion.
that would work.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
Great. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. Are there any other questions, concerns? We'll make those changes, just kind of next steps. You know, key in on him for all your small questions like the speed limit sign and then this new environmental. And maybe he could leave some contact information with you. And then as far as the long-range plan at Interlocal on Thursday, we'll kind of have hopefully a draft new version of this to just reveal, show everybody and say, okay, within the next few weeks, we're going to be sharing this with UDOT and kind of moving ahead, right?
That's Thursday at 8 at.
Thursday at 8,
Senior Center.
I actually believe it's at the
Heber City.
Heber City Council chambers.
yeah,
I
the
thought so.
fires at the senior.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then, but just FYI, you're one of the last cities that we've met with, and I'll just let you know, there really isn't any changes much at all to the list that you see before you. Everybody's like, yeah, still works, looks like it's good, which is a good thing. That
Yeah.
means we did a good job up to this point, and we'll just continue working towards it.
Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome to this if you want it, or we can take it.
Oh, I'd love to,
All right, it's all yours.
I want that one too, if I can, though. Make sure.
What's that?
We'll keep that one too.
You want to keep it?
Yeah.
It's all yours.
Oh, you
He's
can
gonna
have a copy.
we just want to make sure we're capturing the right adjustments, make sure we get everything right.
Just get Bob's line over there, that's what you gotta worry about.
Yeah, I got it.
do you
Well,
guys,
you don't want to see my line, Eric.
do you guys want these so you
Where's
can
your
get a hold of
house?
me?
Yes, thank you.
Do you want 4 or 5 of them? One will
Thanks,
buy
Mayor.
one.
See you guys later.
Thank you, guys.
And if you, any questions about wine in our town, just talk to Bob. He knows all about wine in our town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you very much. We'll see you later.
Have a great evening.
See you guys. So this is new. This is new. They got rid of Matt.
Mayor, just one little comment. my husband Mike was called to that Heber City meeting 2 weeks ago. It lasted from 6:30 to 11 p.m. And the residents, as you know, the one evening was projected to move up, basically be vacated and move up onto 1300 South, right next to that neighborhood that's next to Walmart. And the residents there were just enraged. It was ugly, and I mean, like I say, I was about
So
ready.
is a part who needs to be the most enraged? Which area?
That, what is it?
No, meaning us or them or
Yeah,
whoever
well, it
that.
sounds like they're talking about using 3000 South as a bypass again. Remember going through that
They-
phase?
Yes.
And so, yeah, we're back to, it seems like every few years we just recycle these things. don't we?
Yeah.
And that's the wishful thinking map of exactly that.
But anyway, that, we'll see what happens, but the way that Jeremy stated that, it seemed to me like they were completely backing off that plan at that meeting. And so we'll see what happens with it. Would he say they were maybe going to make it as a suggestion? Well, I don't know, we'll see what happens with it, but
When we know 3000 South, sooner or later, it's gonna, as time goes on, it's gonna get very busy.
We've had a couple more stop signs and we'll be good.
Okay.
speed bumps and.
We're already been asked for one more. Like,
Maybe that's what we need on Daniels. They go 80 miles an hour past my place like that.
they do, and then they go right 80 miles from the stop sign all the way down to the next stop sign and usually don't stop. It is becoming a little bit more of a problem. Okay, we want to thank Bob. That was well appreciated for them to come up and do that. Business licenses, there's kind of 2 versions, 2 areas, new and renewal. We'll go over the new version. The first business on that list would be Wasatch Back Rentals, and I don't know if anyone's here to represent them. Hold on just discussion with the council. I know that there's some issues with that, and maybe Eric, you could talk about that. I know they've applied, and that's about, well, and some of the conditions that they probably need to meet.
On the Wasatch back?
Yes, sir.
Rental?
Yep.
Okay, they've submitted an application. They've given us a parking plan. We have it submitted to the county. We're waiting to hear back from the health department and the fire department. So TO's done their work on that, and we're waiting to hear back on their application.
Where's that located?
It's the Suburban Propane on the highway.
Oh,
So they wanted to have a rental place there. And so the caveats are, so far, the applicant may not park on the highway, no additional buildings or site improvement without proper approval. Parking area will be striped to show the required parking and approval from county fire and health department. So both of those are still, neither one of those two have been approved yet. I don't know, what about ADA bathrooms where they're having the public come in? Do we need to, I know Heber does that, is that something we need to do with the inspection?
It's a good question. Where it's an existing building they're not modifying, usually they don't have to upgrade it. But where it's a new business, I think you could go either way on that one.
So I guess that's up to you guys as council.
As long as it's clean, that's probably the most important thing. That's really the only issue on it.
rental,
Yeah, and so the reason that's not in the letter is that they're not doing anything to the building at this time. And so if they were adding an outlet or replacing the front door or something, then that would open that discussion, you know, to a remodel. But right now, they're claiming to use that building as is, and I've never been in there, I don't know what,
We're assuming they have a bathroom.
we're assuming they have a bathroom. There is a well on the property that I'm assuming is active, but I don't know that either.
So that's really why we're waiting for the health department.
Okay, makes sense.
so at this point, we're just waiting for them.
Yeah, fire did respond today and said they needed more time to look into it. They were worried, they had a concern about cars and parking next to the propane tanks and whether or not there was, you know, ballards or other things, ballards that needed to be installed with those propane tanks. So he just had it, I'll get back to you, this one's gonna take a while.
Okay. That's something you want to keep or give to Mary for, if they move forward on it, as far as the application? Give to Mary.
Yeah, well, the application's not complete until they do everything, so it won't go to Mary till it's complete. As we have these, there is one other small issue there, well, it's probably a big issue. Suburban Propane does not have a license with the town, they let theirs expire. So, they called me when they proposed this, and I told them that we were on our way up to give them a cease and desist for working in the town without a license. He told me they were gonna fix that up right away, and of course, we haven't had anything.
That was when you saw the sparks landing on the propane tank?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so he called me and I'm like, do you have a problem with sparks on your propane tanks? And he's like, yeah. I says, okay, well, then we can talk, because if you don't, I don't think we have anything to talk about. So,
Funny stuff.
they did have, he says they're gonna address that, and I can see where any source of ignition. He told me they were putting in a 500-gallon tank, they've installed 2 500-gallon tanks. There's a sign up already that says Wasatch Rental, hanging on the fence
I
already.
saw that.
So they seem to be pushing as fast as they can forward, but I think they have some things they gotta do before we can even consider issuing a license on there. It's a little bit different because we've done home occupations and this is a commercial license. We have a couple of those, but kind of a little different.
There might be a couple more here, so once again, we'll go through the ones that maybe need a little more understanding. I'll take a motion on those, and then the renewals that are fairly clear, we'll move those along. So I think there's another one, JJ's Clean Day. Anybody know about that one? I'm gonna find out. I don't know. Cleaning homes, it looks like. Home occupation, they're asking for yes, new building, no, new owners, no. They do not have a state license. license, park not required. Assume that house cleaning, just have their own house going to clean their houses maybe, or, you know, they drop it off to you, or,
Just mailed in.
okay. So, so all they're asking for is I hereby apply to conduct the business of or businesses nature cleaning homes.
So definitely be outside.
You have to be off-site, and if we feel comfortable enough, that can, take them, when we get to motion, we'll take them for that. If there's any discussion, or anyone feel comfortable with this one?
That's what
I'd like to have them come before us and explain a little bit for next time.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing from her.
Before we approve it.
I mean,
They won't come in if we don't.
It seems like it's one we'll approve, right? But just to hear what they're doing and.
I would usually like to hear too, because cleaning homes, oh, by the way, and something else.
What's the address there?
Is this a new resident or somebody we already know?
This would be 2925 South Daniel Road.
It's Tori Jill and Lisa Sanders. I think it's their daughter, or daughter-in-law.
So we're going out of the house, probably cleaning.
Yeah, I don't think there's any impact on the town at all.
You know,
Getting in their car and leaving and going cleaning houses, I don't think there's any, I don't think there's an issue with that one. I don't have an issue with that
yeah,
one.
I don't have a problem with
Okay. Then we have Driving Force LLC, movies. 11755 Wilshire Boulevard,
That's for
Bangladesh, yeah.
Deb's
That,
That's for Deb's.
that's just a permit.
That's their business license.
Oh, so it's not just a short-term program.
Yeah, it is short-term, but we made them pull business license because they're working in the town. So that's the way we got them to, they've also bonded with the town. They brought in trailers. They've issued a bond with the town to remove those trailers. They gave us a fixed date.
Everything's on the up and up and, right. Anyone
So
have any
that's-
concerns on this one?
That's their follow-through with the business license.
Okay.
it. Sounds like we already went through it.
Yeah.
And High Mountain Waste Management, DBA Bumper Dumper. That'd be at 1680 West, 3000 South. So if I remember correctly, they said they had a business license. I know there's some comments saying that we didn't think they had a business license, and apparently they don't have a business license, and they're applying for a business license in a zone that doesn't allow this kind of business, apparently.
So they did have a license with the county, but it expired a year ago. So
2017.
Right, 2 years ago. So the county issued them a license in the town of Daniel, so they was licensed as a dumpster company.
This is the one that
From-
has the
Yep.
dumpsters in the back.
Mhm. So the county did license them in the town of Daniel.
Okay, but we haven't gone more than a year without that license being utilized or upgraded?
Right,
Wow.
and so I think they actually probably went back to get it and they wouldn't let them. They told them you have to go down.
That's what she said when she called that they had had one, but she made it sound like a current one on the process of renewal, and the county wouldn't reissue it because it was town.
So they finally figured that out.
Is that the same property that was applying to be rezoned commercial? Has that decision been made by the town?
It's not, still in process.
So if it was approved to be commercial, then it would be a different license, would it
Yes.
not? So what's the point of approving this other license, I guess?
I would agree, it doesn't meet any requirements. I couldn't see approving this, this license, because the business doesn't fit remotely in our residential zoning, just myself, so. Does anyone have any more comments on that? That might stay with this one when we make this motion.
I think that one we should probably hook to the zone change. And until the zone change goes through, then that's the appropriate time to look at the license.
Okay, you can tie that to a motion as well.
Because unless you guys see something different, I don't.
Nope.
zone changes just continued, so.
And that was the last one there, so we have these two. And John, were we clear on the Jane? And I know there's no impact here and here. How do you feel about that? On that particular one, with a little clarification, I agree there's probably not a lot of impact. Moving on to renewals, we have ABC Steel, which is Kimball Roofing, and then Daniel Creek Construction, and Adam Knight Plumbing. Only continuous renewals, I think for all of them, actually. Anybody have any questions on those?
Just so you know, they did send back on their auto stuff. I guess they closed that business
Yeah, for
for their
Roofing?
car. No, for their car stuff.
right, the Kimball.
Oh, the car one, classic car is down.
Yeah, they're done with that.
What about the anchor license? Has it been renewed? Mike Peterson's? Mike Peterson had an anchor license in there that we gave him his, and then we based these other licenses out of his, based on his as an anchor license. We haven't seen anything from him. We probably should send him a letter, because he's the one that still owns the building, so he had an anchor license, and then these individual ones had individual licenses
In that same strip, right?
in the same building.
The building.
Yeah,
Yeah, let him go out. He's aware of it.
yeah.
What was this, what was the driving force for again? Oh,
That's the movie.
That's the movie, yeah.
Okay, so you ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we hold back Wasatch Back Rental and Bumper Dump and approve the other licenses.
So we have a motion, and we have a second. Any other discussion? None? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Do you have anything to add to that, Ryan?
No, it works.
Okay. Ryan's been working with it, so.
The two you have concerns with will continue to work with.
Okay, all right.
And then as far as those, Eric, do you want to keep these two that we're going to hang on to, or?
Yeah, I just let Mary Jane know, so we just won't process them until they get done, so.
Great. Item number 4, temporary moratorium on conditional use.
Okay. That's probably me.
I'll turn the time over there.
We've been doing some training on land use. The courts have decided here of recent that conditional use cannot be withheld from a zone that it's approved in. So if it's on your list, you can make conditions, but there's really hardly any way you can keep them out of that zone. So based on the just recent court action on that, what I'd like to do is have the council put a moratorium on all conditional uses in all zones. And we'll put that on the forefront burner to go through those uses.
Planning?
And come back with a recommendation to council. Because if there's some things on there, and there's been talk about this, if there's something on there that they don't want, they ought to get rid of it. And I think this would initiate that to be at the forefront on the planning commission to take those uses off. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with all the conditional uses that are on there, but we've had quite a few inquiries into it.
I think that'd be good to review those.
So that's, of course, you know, the moratorium's not, it's 6 months.
The maximum, right?
Yeah, then it will expire, so that gives us a little bit of time, and it just would keep conditional uses before we move forward. That's all we're looking for.
That's good. Shall I entertain a motion?
So moved.
You have a motion?
I'll second.
Second? Any discussion on that?
Can I ask a question? Would it have to be for 6 months? Can you do it faster than that?
If it's done, yeah, it's a maximum